So good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. So before I start my presentation, just to tell you like what I do in Tata AIG is underwrite the new age risks. And when I say new age risk, one of the very prominent risk is cyber. And of course, like we are going to discuss a very different aspect of cyber today, wherein insurers globally, in India also like few insurers like us, and globally like many reinsurers are working with the insured in a very different way, not in those traditional way wherein the insurers used to provide only indemnity to the insured, like there is a fire claim or there is a health claim, insurer will pay you the indemnity. That's the way insurance work. But with this new product, there is a new concept of assisting client, which is the way forward for a risk like this. And of course, like before like we get into that last slide wherein I will talk about like what exactly insurers are doing on the cyber space, we will have to understand why we are suddenly talking about cyber so much. So when you look at last 20-25 years, the entire industry as a whole globally has moved on the data, technology, and digitalization side. And when you look at like, there are so many examples, like look at the first 10 largest company. There are 7 of them are data company. Okay, so that's the way world is moving, and that's why the other side of the coin is the exposure which is coming along with those technological advancement, fast growth, higher reach. So that is why we are going to discuss like what is it like we are going to discuss about cyber. And when I'm talking about cyber, you will have to understand that it is very different from all the other risk which we as an insurer, we as the risk managers handle on a day-to-day basis. When you look at cyber, there are a lot of moving parts. It is a very dynamic risk, starting from the targets. So when you look at cyber incidents, it is just not one industry at a time. It is changing. So today, probably, those bad actors are targeting, let's say, a financial institution. Tomorrow, it will be healthcare. Third day, it will be like energy sector. And similarly, like that's one aspect. When you look at even the losses, so AIG was the first one to introduce this product in US in 1997, and then we were the first one to introduce this in 2014 in India. And when we were looking at claims, we realized that even the type of claims, initially what we used to see, these are more of forensics cost. The IT expert who come and resolve the issue when there is a cyber incident or there is a compromise at your system. So those were the costs which we used to pay. In fact, as high as almost around 85% of the cost which we used to pay for forensics. But in 2017-18, I'm sure like you must have read about incidents like WannaCry or NotPetya, wherein it changed from forensics to extortion. And if we are like talking about today, insurers have paid extortion as high as 40 million. In fact, in India, like insurers have paid ransom as high as like 6 to 8 million, which is like 50 to 70 crore, which we are talking about, and as recently as in December. So that's another angle of this. Now, when you look at the very different thing, the privacy laws. Now, you have this exposure wherein bad actors are acting against you. Now, various countries, geographies are introducing a privacy law because organizations or entities, they are misusing the data. So without your consent, your data is getting used or misused on various places. And that's why there was a need to channelize all this. And then there are like various privacy laws. Now we also have DPDP Act, which will soon get enacted, and we will have a lot of obligations. So now that's another exposure as an insured for us. So as I said, it is a very dynamic risk. What we see, like there are like a lot of moving parts, and you have to take care. And the another very important thing, cyber is, when we are talking about cyber security, it's not one-time investment. You have to keep on investing, keep on like working on the risk. So when you look at all other risk, you invest on your fire safety measures, when you invest on your like healthcare of your employees, and then that investment will work for next 10 years, 20 years. But when you look at cyber, even today something which you have implemented, maybe tomorrow that won't be enough to protect your organization. So that's another very important thing which we have to keep in mind when we are talking about cyber. The another very important thing, like when we think about this exposure, we think that cyber exposure is only coming from those criminals who wants to make money. But it is not the story. Actually, when you look at governments, militaries, spies, all these, all of them have some or the other motive. And the organizations are getting attacked for various reasons. As I said, like when you look at the government organizations, when you look at the energy sector, it is not the motive to make money out of them. The motive is very different, wherein an enemy country wants your economy to get disturbed, and that's why like those kind of cyber attacks are having. So now when you insure a power plant, insure a company who was into power generation, insure a company who's into oil and gas, it is not those criminals who are like going to attack those companies and you will have a claim coming from them. Here what you see, like the governments are behind it, the militaries are behind it. In fact, the another exposure which is known as hacktivism, there are like a lot of social group, religious group, political groups who are using this tool. And it's an interesting and very lengthy topic to talk about, but then those organizations, if you read about it, it's so surprising, wherein these organizations, these political organizations, religious organizations are using cyber as a tool to to mobilize a group or a group of people. So considering all this, cyber has become the first and the topmost exposure for organization. There are various reports. I have shared the report of Allianz, the barometer report, which they release year on year. In fact, the PwC report in January, it also suggests that it is not your AOG perils, it is not your political risk or war is the biggest exposure for any organization. It is the cyber, which is on number top and has become the biggest exposure for any and every organization. Now, as I said, like we do have another very important point. When you look at all other products, when you're talking about property insurance, fire insurance, we are talking about marine insurance, you have historical data to suggest that what could be the pricing, what could be the terms and conditions, what could be your retentions deductible in the policy, so that you start making money out of those portfolio. But when you look at cyber, there is no historical data like I'm talking about even India and even outside, there's no historical data to suggest that, okay, if you rate the risk like this, or probably you're having such kind of retentions or terms and conditions in the policy, you will start making money from this portfolio. So, and that's why that's one of the reasons why insurers have started looking this risk as a end-to-end solution to the insured, which like we will speak in the last slide. But one thing what we have realized when we started reviewing all the claims which we have in our book, and there are other various reports which suggest that what we have analyzed in terms of cyber, ransomware becomes the biggest exposure. So all the claims when we started looking at every year on year, and let me tell you, when we are talking about financial line claims, so there are products like directors, officers liability policy, professional indemnity policy and all, the average notification, so if I'm writing 100 policy, what we get to see is around 6 to 7% of the policies will have claims or notification. When you look at cyber, there are almost 17 to 18% policies brings claims year on year. So for even insurer, it is not easy to manage this risk. And as I said, when you look at ransomware, and why I specifically put a slide for ransomware, because when you look at cyber, there are various various tools which is used by these bad actors, starting from phishing attacks to denial of access attack. But ransomware is the biggest exposure, wherein it constitutes almost 75% of the cyber claims comes due to ransomware tools used. Now, there's various data which is very eye-opening. In fact, when we are talking about our country, and of course, I have presented the data of 2021, but year on year, I can tell you, 70 to 75% of the Indian companies gets compromised. And you know the bad part of this, that even we able to identify that our systems has got compromised, we take more than 200 days. And this is the global data, it's just not India. Probably we may be taking higher days to identify that yes, my system is compromised and somebody is sitting and taking away data from our system, or probably doing some other malicious activity. So all these things make this exposure very big, and on top of that, when you look at us, we don't recognize this as an exposure. And it's just not we, when you look at even technologies, like when you, so of course, like when you look at two industries, specifically financial services and IT, they, from the beginning, they understood that it is a big exposure and we will have to address that. But when you look at all other industries, including healthcare, and we have seen two large healthcare breaches in India in recent past, they never thought that security can be a concern for their organization. They always thought safety is our concern, and we all are from insurance, so we will be able to correlate. When you go for an inspection in a factory, they will tell you to wear helmet, they will tell you to wear gloves, they will not allow you to go beyond a point. But why? Because they were always concerned about safety. They never thought security can be a concern for them. And that was the reason why, when you look at during pandemic and all, it was not the financial institution, it was not the IT company who got hacked. These were the manufacturing setups, these were the industries, these were the healthcare industries, your pharma companies, left, right, and center, they have got hacked because they never understood that, yes, this is a critical thing and we need to address. Another thing, like, as I said, 25% to 40% breaches happen because the employees and your vendors are not aware of the risk. They click those links which they are not supposed to click. They, like those phishing emails, they are not able to identify that, okay, these are not the mails which we should open, download attachments. Similarly, they go and visit those websites which they are not supposed to do. So if you address, as an industry, as a country, if we start addressing this, that we become aware, cyber risk aware, I think we will be addressing at least 25 to 40% exposure. So there are a lot of things which is there about this exposure. Now, as I said, when you look at this, in fact, yesterday I was speaking to a journalist and he asked me that when this exposure is such a big exposure, then why are you writing the risk and how you're managing that? And I will tell you, this is a question, it's just not for us, for like every country, every reinsurer, big insurance markets are trying to address that, because sometime it looks like that probably we will not be able to manage this risk, and probably we'll say that, okay, we are not able to provide the solution to you for such risk. And that's why what insurers have started doing it, they have, along with the, of course, indemnity, what they're trying to do, as soon as an insured decides to buy a cyber insurance and they reach out to the insurance company, what they have started doing it, there are pre-placement services which they have started offering them. Now, when I'm talking about pre-placement services, what they're trying to do is like they have these vendors through which they analyze their risk. There are companies, and like I've named Bitside. So like if I have to tell you like what Bitside do in a layman term, I'll tell you like we all know CIBIL. Without telling you and me, CIBIL is monitoring all our financial transactions. Okay, how much loan you have took, how many times you are defaulting on your EMIs, your credit card payments, everything is monitored and basis which you have been rated. And when you go for apply for a loan, banks practically check your CIBIL rating and they give the loan. Similarly, like when you look at these agencies like Bitside and other security agencies, they monitor all your outside observable data and basis which they rate you. So when you look at me, this is one of the underwriting tool which I use, but at the same time, I share that report with my insured who's like approaching us, and we'll tell you like, with those reports, we will be able to tell them saying that, okay, these many end-of-life technology which you are using in your system, which is exposed to internet. So this is one of the biggest problem for Indian companies. In fact, I was reading a NASSCOM report. It says that 72% Indian companies use legacy system or those end-of-life technology, wherein those software companies have stopped providing patches. And those were the easy, what you call, way for hackers to attack those companies. So we are able to tell them, we were able to tell them like, okay, these are missing patches, these are open patches which you have to address. So by way of doing so, we tell the insured that where you stand today when it comes to cyber risk, and also advise them that, okay, these are the areas through which you can address. The other thing, as I said, like our own experience says that 75% plus claims, the root cause is ransomware. And that's why like we have designed, the AIG and TATA has designed a questionnaire wherein we actually ask this ransomware posture of the insured. So what is the intention behind it? If we are addressing 75% risk, if we are addressing ransomware, we are actually addressing 75% of the risk. So we check like what kind of training which you impart to your insured, what is like the system, or let's say suppose the business continuity plan which you have if there is a ransomware attack. So all these things which we ask, and basis which again with our cyber risk consultant, who's the guy from the industry, from the security agencies, security industry, speaks to the client and tell them, okay, these are the areas, or these are 1, 2, 3, 4 actionable, and first to attend this, second to attend that. These are the kind of advices which we have started providing to our insureds. In fact, the another very important thing what we have started doing is after placement is creating a playbook. Now what is happening on the cyber space, it is like a thief is at your home, and now you're started looking for solution. You're trying to know where is the nearest police station. It is like that somebody has compromised your system, he's moving from one system to another system, and then you try to look at where is the forensics guy, where is the crisis communication guy, where is the law firm, so that I can report to the incident to the various agencies, my stakeholders, my shareholders. So all these things, what we have done with this playbook, we do a call with the insured and with all these agencies wherein the SLA gets finalized that, okay, if tomorrow there is an incident, these are the agencies and these are the representatives of those agencies will work with you. Not only that, even on the insured side, let's say suppose it's a company and you have somebody who can have to represent the media that, okay, this has happened and this is what the steps which we are taking, these are the data at risk, this is what the advice which we want to give it to our customers. So all these things, you have to identify people. You can't looking for those people at the time of incident and saying that, okay, please handle this, you please handle this, you please handle that. So that's why what we have started doing it, to minimize the loss, we started creating the playbook for the insureds who are like insured with us. The other thing which we have started doing it, and it's one of the new cyber product which we are going to launch in India in August, wherein there is a facility of bridge coach. Of course, like when you look at the developed market, they already do have this facility wherein insureds will be speaking to a law firm, explaining the situation to them, and those law firms who are like well aware of this exposure, they will be advising you that in this situation, you should be hiring forensics guy. In this situation, you should be going to a ransomware consultant who can manage the extortion demand. So all these things will be able to like address through the new wording. After all this, there is a very relevant statement by a guy called Robert Miller. He's an ex-FBI director. He says, there are two types of companies across the globe, one who has got hacked, other who's going to get hacked. So that means nobody is 100% secure. Okay, and that's why after doing all that, what we have done, we have tie-ups with all these big fours, we have tie-ups with all these security agencies, the best of those agencies, wherein if suppose there is an incident, we can just speak to them, there is a negotiated rate and SLA already finalized so that they can come into the picture and start handling it. See, imagine, and I can tell you, like when you're talking about a large bank, large IT company, they probably having their own forensics department to handle or to take care of such situations. But when it comes to a private limited or a mid-size, mid-market companies, practically they don't even know whom to approach at that point of time. So all these things become very helpful. Now, when I'm explaining all this, in fact, another thing which the insurers have started doing it is the dark web monitoring. And let me tell you, like, we keep on going to our customers with the breach credentials. Okay, these are the employees, their data is available on dark web. So either change the password or take the corrective actions. And I can tell you very recently, 10th June, Mendiant has released a report for Snowflake's, a US-based company, wherein they have claimed that 165 customers' data has got compromised, and few of Indian companies are also there on the list. Now, we practically go and tell them that these are the data which is already available on dark web, and the reason why, like the root cause when you look at the Snowflake's breach, it is those leaked credentials which led to this breach. So, All these things insurers have started doing it. Now probably you will be thinking, this is not a job of an insurer. We are supposed to pay indemnity. But why we are doing all these activity? Why? Because we want to be in this business. And we want to provide a sustainable long-term solution. Now by doing that, it is a win-win situation for the insured as well as the insurer, wherein of course the quality of the risk at the end of the insured will improve, and subsequently as an insurer we will have much better portfolio, much better cyber portfolio to be in my portfolio, so that I can have a sustainable growth on that particular portfolio. So these are the reasons why when you look at insurers, especially on the cyber field, have started approaching this risk very differently, and probably I think, and what I have started seeing the other products, especially in the financial line, there are other products also wherein insurers are moving to provide various solutions. So on the D&O front, what I have seen, and we are also working on that, wherein we are helping insureds to address ESG exposure. So there are agencies through which the insurers are speaking, so that what is the ESG score of that organization, we will be able to present to the insured so that they can address those exposures. Similarly, on the PI side, there are contract reviews which the insurers are doing with the help of law firms, which are like ultimately helping insureds to have a strong contracts so that they have less what you call legal liability on them at the time of claim. So I think these are the things which is happening on the especially financial line front. But yeah, I think it's a new step and a welcome step. So that's it from my side. If you have any question, I'll be happy to answer. Yes.
See, as of now, you seek for information in the form of a questionnaire for underwriting and assessment of the cyber risk. Now, at times it's very difficult to in fact get that information precisely and without any mistakes and without any, intentionally providing a wrong information because they don't know what to write, right? So just as an analogy wherein property insurance companies, engineers go down to the site, they have a physical look at the risk by themselves and they are better informed. Can we also think of something wherein some representative from your side can actually go to the client and they can have an in-depth interaction? They can actually have a better perception of what the client has currently and what they can actually look at in future also. So do you think that that particular approach can really help you in terms of like a better underwriting and a lesser exposure in terms of claims?
So very genuine question, and we all are facing this issue that when we approach a customer and like present 5 forms from 5 different insurance companies and then this additional ransomware or other risk form and ask them to fill, like many times because of these so many documents, they say, okay, let it be, I am okay without having insurance. Okay, so that's the issue which practically we all are facing. But I can tell you, like, we have moved way from where we were. I remember, like, in 2014, even getting a field proposal form was difficult. But today I see, especially on the large customers, they happily fill those 5 forms. They happily fill those, what you call ransomware questionnaire, which every insurer have different formats. I think there somewhere, I think we have to see another very important point which I like to tell you. I think this can be done wherein there is a standard form for coming from all insurers. But the issue is like the risk is so dynamic that even we, like every 2 years, every second year, we will have to update our form that, okay, these are new things which is happening in the cyberspace, so we will have to address that and we add 2 questions and delete 2. So there are moving parts, as I said, with this exposure, but yes, I definitely want to tell you that things have moved far, like from where it used to be. What we are doing as an insurance company, that when it comes to small limits, small risk, not complicated risk like a IT company or a bank, or a very targeted industry like pharma. For all other risk, what we do, like if they are going for, as I said, small limit, small organization, we rely on the reports like BitSight, we rely on, there are other platforms through which we identify the quality of the risk, and basis which we don't ask those ransomware questionnaire in every case and go ahead and quote for them. So things are moving in a positive direction. That is what I would like to say.
The other thing I think which probably the insurance company should really come up with for cyber in particular is that you should have a publication of what experiences you had. We have it for, say, a property claim. We have it for like fires. I mean, there's a fire and that gets actually, you get to know that. So what happens is, like SMEs in particular, they still are of the feeling that probably it won't affect me. But then there might be instances. So I think you should really look at that thing.
More work for me, in fact, what you're saying. But see, the thing is like with liability claims, and when we are talking about all these legal liability, these sensitive claims, what happens with my line of business, when you look at the directors and officers liability policy or a professional indemnity policy or a cyber policy, most of the time claims are so sensitive and so confidential that sharing details about that claim, I can tell you like now we also have in India a claim as big as 30 million at this point of time, and there are other class action coming on that claim, cyber claim I'm talking about. But we are not in a position to share those details because there are so many confidentiality issues. So that is one area, but yes, point taken, sir, and we can probably change, mask the name of the company and release those details. Some insurers, reinsurers, and especially AIG keep on doing it. So we can look at doing something, but there are like a lot of complication in terms of taking legals, approvals, compliance, and all other things. But this can be done. It's something which is, I should not be saying it's not possible. But yeah, there are issues, and that's why like we want to play safe in this area. Yes.
Mr. Najm, there is a question.
Hi, sir.
From the way you have presented the whole presentation today, quantifying the risk is very difficult from your talk, what I understand. So how do I fix a sum insured? On what basis, if you can guide us?
So as an insurer, the first thing is like I'm not in a position to advise the sum insured that what sum insured the insured should be taking. But the way we handle this is like, and especially when we are talking about risk as liability, when you look at like you can have Bhopal gas tragedy and the company would be having more liability than the size of the company. And even when you look at cyber, there are claims, as I said, like we are like handling a claim which is a 30 million, like almost around like 240 crore claim. The cyber industry in India is almost around 450 crore. And we have a claim which is as big as this. So definitely like what you call, the way we handle it is like we advise the benchmarking. That okay, if you are in a pharma sector, let's say if you're in IT or if you're in banking, this is the buying trend. These are their like companies, these are companies which is like dealing in those jurisdiction. These are the limits which they are buying. The other thing, then there are other areas, especially in cyber, that you look at the companies' exposure in Europe or in those countries where the privacy law, the GDPR are very significant. The regulators are very active. When you look at companies are exposed to US, wherein you see a lot of legal liability claims. So then considering all that fact, then the other thing which you look at is the business interruption exposure, that what kind of business interruption which you expect if there is a cyber incident. Similarly, like extortion, which is again a very big exposure under the policy. So you look at how much data or the kind of data which you store, which is attracting those bad actors. So probably if you're having health data or a financial data, you're actually highly exposed. So all these things which you consider and advise the insured that okay, these are the limits, these are the buying trends which you should address. I think that's the way we address this.